Yeah, probably should talk about this one. So with regards to I think it's easy to put money down on items if you know that there's only one reason someone will buy something. Like that guitar, camouflage, bullseye finish. That it's a signature thing for Zackwalt guitars. I'll try and find it actually. I reckon a screenshot will probably help. Let me see. All right, I'll see if I can share the screen somehow. Is it share screen? This one? Yeah. So if you look at the design, it's like if you want a guitar that is a bullseye or has a camouflage finish, it's this guitar. So for me, when I was thinking of picking up the guitar, the $500 didn't matter because I knew that it was used on you. So it's like buy in this range. Buyer only buys it for one reason, and then if you're a fan of so it's like a fan of the guitarist has options. They have the cream and black option, they have the orange and black option, they have the camouflage option. I literally bought it for the camouflage, which means if I want a camo guitar, it's that guitar. So if buyers have three options versus one option, it's a pretty no-brainer to buy and then hold. And looking at I didn't even have to look at comps actually, because from what I remembered, the guitar sold out pretty quickly. So 2003, I think when the guitar came out, I was, how old would I be? 16 at the time. I just learned how to play the electric guitar, and I remembered like this was in the magazines. So the point being is, it's very easy to put money down if you know why the buyer is going to buy it. It's a lot harder if you're just basing it on comps, but don't know why the comps exist. And I think that's the people always like to go to comps and then they stop at comps. They go, well, the comp says it's worth this much, I'm going to list it. And then when it doesn't sell, they get stuck because they don't know how to link the reason for the buying to why the comp exists in the first place. But if you're already here, then the comps are just whatever. In fact, if you're already here, this gives you more confidence than the comps. You could even pick a price at the top of the range that you think it exists. And if your reasoning for why the buyer buys is solid enough, you'll probably get that price anyways, and you could be one of those people that pushes the range a lot higher. Because once again, comps are there for history, right? Meaning, if everybody who has sold the item prior to you didn't have an understanding of why someone bought an item, then the comps could very well be a bunch of people with low confidence. So if this guitar had sold for $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, and I went there and I went, I reckon I would pay $2,000 for that guitar if I wanted a camouflage guitar. Is 3 too much? 4 definitely too much. And if I went, reasoning makes sense, I'm gonna go 2.5 and see where I end up. I could be that person who actually discovers that the range of tolerance for this guitar's resale value actually is in the 2 range, and everybody else just happened to not think that 2 was possible. So to me, if you're here for why an item will sell, you definitely put the money down and just go get it, versus if you are like looking at comps. So yeah, so you really want to be that. And I think as resellers, that's one of the best things we have, right? It's like you're not tied to any suppliers who insist you must hold price to a certain extent. You're not tied to any sort of market relationships. You're literally a rogue independent seller. You can do whatever the hell you want, and eBay gives you that ability. So if you are obnoxious or in the know enough to go for a higher price and you're able to sell, you've now informed the whole market that that's possible. But then at the same time, if there's something that you've done, or if there's an understanding of how you sell the item that got you that price, everyone else in the market won't even know that either, which means that they could be taking crappier photos, they could be fulfilling the item differently, they could be providing less shipping options, all those different tools they could not be using, but they could still think that they can get that price. And then you'll be getting that price, and then they'll get frustrated because they're not doing what you do, but they think that because of just the item it should sell. Not the case. So yeah, pretty amazing though when you understand all of that. I need to figure out how to like share the screen and not share the screen and share the screen, not share the screen. So I think I was moving my hands a bit and pointing at places when the screen was sharing. But I don't think you guys, when I shared the screen, do you guys only see the shared screen or do you see the shared screen and me as well? Because I can't, it doesn't give me a preview here. It just shows me the screen that I'm sharing. Blue. Oh, okay, I'll try again. Let's see. La-di-da. All right, so if I wouldn't call myself a listing king, Janelle, but I suppose a crown. One more thing to maintain on your head while you're doing. I did, that I had a green beanie. It's not here with me now. I think the kids must have taken it elsewhere. I started working at home. The kids just take stuff and they run away with it. And like when I want to find stuff again, I have a green beanie that's the same color as this hoodie. I was wondering whether that could be like the listing crown. Let's see. All right. So okay, so if I share this, do you guys oh okay, so now the screen is showing, but if I do the okay, so it's showing as me in the tiny corner. Can I make it bigger? Ah. All right, so it does work then. Okay, so I need to, if I scroll, I have to click back and well, you guys get to watch me work out all my kinks with StreamYard. It's such a cool tool. There's like so much I can do with this, and I'm very very like intrigued by all the things I can do with it. Yeah, cool. All right, back to listing. Oh yeah, Janelle, I have to list a lot because I sell a lot. So essentially, I'm like my stuff's not replenishable. I think I move almost 1,000 units of toys a month. So I need to actually list more than 1,000 units of toys to actually grow my store. So obviously, like if I'm here listing, I don't want any of you guys to feel like you have to keep up to my numbers. It's purely because these are the categories that I enjoy, and I very much recognize the grind that's involved selling in this category. I would love if I could sell guitars like 20 a month, and that would be more or less the same amount of money. But I don't enjoy it, and so until I find something that I enjoy equivalently, that's even a word. This is my life, my burden, and my blessing, I suppose. Hence the 100, like literally the 100 listing challenge, right? If we do it once a week, that only puts me at like 400 listings a month. I need to list about 1,000 to 1,500 items. So sometimes I go live, sometimes I don't. If I went live all the time, you guys would be like, does he do any other work? This is kind of like where the eBay and the YouTube kind of come together. Super Mario chess game. Oh wow. Yeah, like the oh my gosh, I feel like thrift stores just don't quite get it. And so we find a lot of nice stuff there. Also, I'm kind of scared to go back because yeah, I feel like if I go back too soon, they'll know that it's not just for me. Because if you come back, if you just cleared out like, you know, what is 6 kilos of cars from one place, I feel like you have to almost have give it a month or two before you go back and do it all over again. If you keep going every single week and clearing out kilos and kilos of it, eventually they'll be like, "Do you have a basement? Do you have a room? Do you want to show us proof that you're doing something?" And you have to come up with all these reasons, right? Or maybe you don't, or maybe I'm just in my head, but I'm so used to not going to op shops now that when I go, I feel like I need to have a reason handy. Like, oh, I make paper maches of cars, or I strip the paint and sniff it. I don't know what I'm gonna say, right? Eventually, gonna run out of. I have nephews and nieces. That's what my sister used to get so awkward when she used to do pickups for me down around like the Mornington area. And she'd be like, all right, for this one, I have a niece that's 6 years old. I have a nephew that's like 15 years old. How many hours do I think I spend on eBay a week? It's a full-time job for me, really. So I mean, Monday is a full day because Jen takes the kids to school. That's her day off. So Monday is like a 9 till 5, maybe 6. And then after that, Tuesday is like a 10 o'clock till 10 till 5. And then Wednesday is like a 10 till 2 because I've got after school stuff with the kids. And then I do nighttime. So like Thursday is also like a 10 to 2 because of after school stuff. And I do the drop offs on those days as well. Friday is like a 10 till 4 because of after school stuff. So it's like there's 2 full days and there's like part-time. But then there's also all the nights that I do. So if you think about those live streams that have been going on to like 2, 3 in the morning, before YouTube, that was what I used to do anyway. So the live streams were just kind of like a way to, how do I increase watch hours for YouTube? Because YouTube, essentially, to get monetized, you have to do 4,000 watch hours in 365 days, which we're almost like 3,000, we're on 3,200 today. But at the same time, and so every one of these lives, right, essentially, if this goes for 2 hours, there's 8 of you guys here at the moment, that's like 16 hours. So it's just like, how do you merge two endeavors together so that one doesn't take away from the other? Because the one thing I hated about the whole YouTube potential was that people will go, you're more of a YouTuber than a reseller. And there are many YouTubers who do reselling who, when you look at their reselling businesses, they don't feed themselves with reselling. It's all YouTube. So that's not me. I love reselling too much. I make way more money doing reselling. I never intend for YouTube to be my main source of income. So it's kind of like, how do I manage this distraction to still be productive? Hence all the live streams, right? There's the occasional talking, but everything's on topic. So I look at it as the time I spend talking to you guys, chatting, learning about things is productive time, because otherwise the break from doing the listing work would just be going on YouTube, watching stuff instead, or I don't know, scrolling through Facebook to source for things. So I suppose the streaming kind of takes away from sourcing time, but I'm also trying to source less because I've got enough stock to sell. Yeah, so yeah, it is very full-time, sometimes 50-60 hours if time permits. But yeah, it's very much my structure is very much Jen and the kids. So they provide the fixed hours, and then I work all around that. Categories. First flip I ever did, Pokemon card, when I was 12. Went to a tuition class. Someone said to me, I don't believe you have this card. I said I did. And then a week later, I came back with the card. He had $50. We swapped. It was a Charizard back in 1999, 2000, 11, 12. So yeah, it was first edition Charizard for $50. But kids, right? The amazing thing about that whole experience was I was only getting $5 of allowance every week. And my parents were very much like Mr. Banks from Mary Poppins. If any sort of extra money goes straight into the bank to earn interest. So when I got that $50, bearing in mind, no email, no phone call. Back then, I think dial-up only just came in. So I think he thought about this person I sold it to. I don't remember what his name is or what he looks like anymore. It's that long ago. But when I think back to that experience, the fact that we were kids and I just needed to prove him wrong, that I wasn't a liar. and that he probably was waiting for me to prove him wrong, because we didn't just have $50 lying around. So the fact that he came back the next week when we met each other again and he had the money and I had the card and we did the switch still blows my mind. But that gave me a high. So that was my first ever flip. And then from then on, it became, I did like, there were collectible cards of various forms, like soccer, because soccer is really big in Malaysia. So like, English Premier League cards. And then there were basketball cards. And then there were, I think later became basketball jerseys. I used to ship in like boxes of basketball jerseys secondhand from the States back when we only had Sportsco here selling them. They were the ones with the tag that said property of at the bottom. So you only had, I think, a selection of like 10 on the shelf. And so I bring in like the champion jerseys, like Clippers, Odom tops. Back then, like the Chris Webber, Jason, Mike Bibby, Jason Williams, like Sacramento Kings tops. So I used to do that. That was a big chunk of that was, I think, like 5 to 7K a month on the side while I was at uni. And then it was reshelling Blackberries at one point. that was fun, but not a lot of money because you had to buy the Blackberries and then reshell and then flip it. And then there was some laptops and phones in there at one point. Sneakers was for a little bit, and then there was a period of no flipping because I was too busy being a mortgage broker. And then after that, when I had kids, when I had Noah, then it's like started thinking about flipping stuff again. It was just to like get his toys for free, really, and then you just kind of snowballed into another business. So essentially, when I met Jen, she didn't know I flipped stuff. She just knew I had a lot of crap. And then when I wanted to buy stuff or upgrade anything, she would notice stuff would go away, and it would blow her mind that somebody would want to pay $100 to $200 for my used sneakers, because I had a sneaker collection when we met. And then so I'd start mortgage broking. I needed to go get a laptop. Laptop comes, shoes are missing. She'd be like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just drove it to Footscray." And then she's like, "Who bought it?" Like, just a guy who came and looked like me and just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be the coolest guy in town." So and then so toys is where we landed. Toys is probably where we're staying because I like the fact that it doesn't take up a lot of space. So despite the grind, despite the lower average sale price, it's plentiful. And its values are so elastic because it's because of condition. So you've got every toy brand new was intended to be played with. Most rare toys actually are not rare now because if they were designed to be collector's editions, they tend to stay kept. So therefore, it's actually the common stuff that has more value because they become rare due to just play and less of the common stuff that is still desirable being in good condition. So for me, I can always find toys anywhere. And I think because toys is a very noisy category, from different quality, from different licenses, different brands having a go making different franchises of toy. Like Looney Tunes, right? You've got Looney Tunes toys that are like really good condition, and then you've got stuff that's like Happy Meal quality. So that kind of complexity makes the category defensible. I don't like the word defense, but defense is what it is. It's that by building knowledge, people cannot get into it unless they really want to get into the nuances of it. So when you see some people try their hand at the toy category and you look at their listings, they don't price it accurately at all. And we're not talking like $100, $200 kind of price ranges where we're talking between $10 and $20. They pick 20 instead of 10, but no idea why they pick the 20. And just by virtue of them picking the 20 instead of the 10, the item sits there forever. So to me, if you're gonna pick a category that you have to grind in as an individual entrepreneur, whatever you want to call us, right? You best have some sort of defensive mechanism inherent to the category. Otherwise, you're going to end up playing this volume game, race to the bottom thing that you can't keep up because it's a grind and there is no defense. So like iPhone cases that you buy off Alibaba, sell for however many dollars on eBay, right? There's only so many marketplaces you can go to. So at the end of the day, unless you make your own website and rebrand it with your own brand and some sort of social media thing, it ends up just being a very pointless grind. So I think that's kind of like why I like toys. And I think toys very much fits the season I'm in because it allows me to kind of be home, hang out with the kids, not have to invest in a warehouse either because there's plenty of storage in the house that we're in for the category. if I started doing clothes or shoes, this house would not be big enough because the kind of scale I like, the kind of volume, the turnover I like, this house would not be big enough for those categories. I definitely would need a warehouse, then completely different business model. Yeah, I think that more or less sums up the journey from start to present. Uh, oh, Pia, if you want to do well on eBay, you're gonna have to give up the tequilas, or keep it for Tuesday nights where we do live and drink. Yeah, I can't get any work done if I'm drinking either. So, the Tuesday live is pretty much like my designated drinking time. Otherwise, if I drink any other time, I tend to get tired, sleepy. I don't want to get any work done. There isn't much push through. Yeah. All right. Back to listing. I attribute this segue to Jason. It was his fault for asking good questions. All right, one more listing and we'll answer some questions. I think I saw some in the chat. All right. We've gone from 7 people to 4. Hey, Paul. La 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 la. I'm not sure if Janelle's still here. Asking me, how many listings do you think you do every day? Oof, good question. Probably if I sit and just focus and do them, I do about 50 in one sitting. I don't list every day, but I try and get through maybe 300 a week if I can. How do I remember what I have in stock and what you have had? I oh, I think being in a niche kind of store, it's not too hard to remember what's in stock because my goal is to essentially touch every item that's available for sale within that category. So it's like if I sell Spider-Man figurines, all I want to literally be able to get my hands on every single variation. Because my lens is that way, which I think I can understand where your question is coming from. I think because you sell fabric, so it's like any fabric, there is no set like fabric. You've got the variety is endless, I suppose. So in that sense, there is no end. As opposed to if you're selling niche toys, you essentially want to know every single item in existence. Like Transformers, they've got wiki pages that if you really only wanted to collect one character, you can kind of knock off every single character that matters. So I think in that sense, I've always been good at remembering what I've got, which then makes it very hard for me to scale this approach because I then would have to hire someone who has that same retention, but it also could mean that they then take that and go and start their own business, right? So that's a bit tricky. Eventually, it will have to be some sort of stock taking kind of process. It's hard with used toys because you want to reward yourself for that knowledge with top dollar. But then if you delegate it and you let someone else decide the pricing, you almost have to take a mandatory haircut unless someone knows how to not do that. But yeah, in this business, I feel like there comes a point where I can outsource the sourcing, the drafts, the photographs, the packing, but I will still be sitting at the computer pricing everything and choosing whether to schedule, not schedule. Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't quite thought that one through. I'm not that far along in the journey yet. Yeah. In terms of, but yeah, I remember pretty much everything that I've got on hand. It's very rare that I stumble across something in my warehouse that I go, I didn't realize I had that. I always know. Yeah. So if anything, it'll be quantities of what I've got, in which case then it's just price for condition more than anything, because I think people like to be given choice. So I had this conversation with somebody else about how if you take choice away from someone, you have to give them something back. It could be a discount in price. It could be, I don't know, something. So if you're giving people choice and you're listing individually and you're pricing them accordingly, then that whole illusion of choice somehow seems to be reciprocated with more combined orders, because they feel like you've given them $2 back to then go buy another item with that $2, and then they buy another one. So in the end, they end up spending more than they intended to spend in the first place, but they feel like they're getting value because they're able to choose. So that's kind of my model at the moment. It's very tricky with used toys to go and have multiple quantities because, well, that's an INET for starters, but also collectors are really fussy, I feel. If you're going to go through all that effort to take really nice photos and already have the muscle memory to do it quite quickly, it's really not that hard to just do photos, a new set of photos for every item. That's actually because you're actually just replicating the listing template anyways. You just sell similar. Everything is literally the same. There is no grading process when it comes to toys, as far as my approach is concerned. So there is no like good, very good, excellent. I don't bother with all that nonsense. I just take really good photos, and then if it's a motorized item or an item that has some sort of battery functionality, if it says things or it has noise, then I'll note that in the comments. But once again, I have standards. So therefore, if I'm selling 10 of those items in varying condition cosmetically, it's 10 sets of photos for all those 10 items, but the description will be the same. The voice works, if the voice doesn't work, it's a core functionality. I'm not going to sell it as a not working talking toy. So if it's a talking toy, it has everything else has to be the same except for the cosmetic part, in which case then it's an automatic just new set of photos that I don't even think about, and they just copy the listing and then change the pricing accordingly to account for the cosmetic differences. Watch any non-Aussie YouTube resellers. I don't watch too many because there aren't many that don't say the same thing over and over again. I think that's probably it. Like a lot of them just rant and complain, which I don't like. I feel like a lot of them so YouTube. So apart from daily refinement that they don't say very much because they want you to join their Patreon group, he's probably the most sound advice out of the lot. But then I feel like almost everybody else falls into one of either two camps. Either they hype up how easy it is to do and how you can do it as well, but they never tell you how much of the business is actually supported by YouTube income versus reseller income. So those ones I don't watch anymore, because it just angers me that they have this, that is misleading. I don't like that. And then they're the ones who complain a lot, and they essentially are the ones that will have clickbaity titles that go along the lines of eBay failed me, can't believe eBay did this, can't believe buyer did this, eBay is going downhill, eBay better watch out. All those guys, they get all their views, right? But once again, they are making money from those views. Watching that kind of stuff sets me up to just hate my life and hate my job and think that it's not worth building. I know, but then once I walk away and I go, no, my business fundamentally still works. eBay still works. There's no reason to think that it won't. These videos are bullshit. So essentially, there's a lot of bullshit on YouTube, which is why eventually where we arrive is people that I get to know personally before I take advice from them. So like CL Furlong, Jason Ramage, Two Aussie Thrifters, they have a lot of business advice. So I look for business advice because those are the building blocks. And then once you know the building blocks and you apply the building blocks and you appreciate the building blocks, you can just change categories. Like I've transitioned, as you've heard earlier, I transitioned from one item to another, and I'm not particularly set on items, which is why I feel like if the fundamental building blocks are not there and you don't know what building blocks need to come and go, depending on the items that you sell, you're gonna feel nervous when your market suddenly dries up. You start acting like it's the end of the world and your business is gonna go, but it's not, because if your sense of business is sound, the items are just items. You're gonna guard a category if it's still feeding you, but the moment it's no longer feeding you, you'll let it go very quickly and go to another category. The last thing you want is to cling on to an item because you don't know what else you can sell. So in a sense, having multiple store accounts at the moment, it's kind of like it's almost like a confidence builder for me, because it helps me to prove that the sound fundamentals can lead to success across different products, varying products. Yeah. If I've missed any YouTube channels that I should be giving shout outs to that I haven't, I'm sorry. There are some good what sold channels if you are starting out, like there's a lot of like for example, like you've got Mel's channel back from Burnout, you've got Life of Reseller, you've got, it's late and I'm struggling to think of names, but essentially the what sold, they show you what you can potentially sell. There comes a point in a reseller's journey when they acknowledge that they can sell anything, and at that point, if you're watching to get ideas of what to sell, it almost feels like you're wasting time. Not that the videos themselves are a waste of time. That's not what I'm saying. Do not take it that way. But more like if you're wanting to build upon your ability to grow as a reseller, it starts to shift from product to business stuff. And at that point, you're probably actually better off listening and watching people share their business growth stories, because you'll see similarities in pattern. And that's something that a lot of us don't talk about, which is the fact that when we become our own bosses, it's because we are very good at recognizing patterns. We've noticed toxic patterns among people. We've noticed patterns of inefficiency at work. We've noticed patterns in buyers and how they buy. So once you patterns in management, so when you're in a job and you tend to notice patterns and you want to make changes and they don't let you, eventually you go, fuck it, I'm going to be my own boss. And then you get to that point, you're like, you forget that you're a pattern recognizer. So when you recognize patterns and you give time to grow that skill set, the products don't matter. And the stuff about all the stuff about what so, that's for people who are curious. You're past that point already. You're kind of like going, how do I apply pattern recognition in my business so that I can replicate? And so when you seek that content, suddenly you're not restricted to reselling content anymore, which is why this channel, CR for Long's channel, why we both get along so well is because we don't really focus on product, because we recognize that your success is not about the product. Your success is very much about the pattern recognition, the structure, the systems, how you track, how you build upon what you track, and so forth. The video upload function, Janelle, has been a pain in the ass for me, because sometimes I'll upload it and it'll say it's being reviewed and then it doesn't end up being uploaded. And then I'll re-upload it and it just says under review. So I'm not sure whether that's a bit of a glitch in that system. But then sometimes I upload it, the video gets uploaded. So at the end of the day, I go, if I have never sold a talking toy before and I saw this video function, I would feel like if I don't upload it, I may lose the sale. But because I've been selling functioning stuff for so long, and it hasn't led to INEDs, it hasn't led to people querying, it makes me go, the chances of somebody, now that there's this feature and I don't provide it, saying that it doesn't work and lying to me, very slim. So I don't bother with the video unless somebody specifically asks for a video. Then I try and upload it to YouTube and send them the links. I think you can still do that on eBay. But I've only ever done that like once in the last year. So I think buyers who are looking for something with a functionality, they buy it if it works, because we're honest. They tend to be honest too. Yeah, and for those of you guys who haven't seen that video on scams that I did a few months back, essentially there was this whole thing about untracked postage and how if something is not tracked, you're opening yourself up to a scam, and therefore there was this like fear of, I'm gonna get scammed if I click untracked, as if somebody has their finger on the mouse going, do I go untracked or do I go tracked? But if I can't afford, and I just played out this scenario when a mom buying a book for a child, a parent, like, a brother buying a book for a sister. The book comes. It is as described because you, the seller, have done the right thing. The book gets passed on whoever it's bought for, or it gets read by the person who bought it for themselves. They don't then go a week later and go, I need money and I'm kind of low $7, because we're talking about items that are generally under $10 that don't get, they don't go, I couldn't afford coffee today. I think I'm going to go open up a case to try and get a $7 refund. No one ever thinks like that. You see how weird that sounds? But that's the story that somebody plays in their head. So when I look at features on eBay that are meant to give confidence to buyers, you have to put yourself on the other end and go, how would it likely play out if this dishonesty was that common? It's not that common. So really what it comes down to is either someone premeditates a scam, in which case those people are actually very, very few in existence. Most people, if ever they open cases, it's because they're not satisfied. So if you do a good job and you have standards for delivery, you pack well, you send on time, it arrives early because you send, let's say, within 1 business day, even though you have a 3 business day handling time, you give yourself the best chance because you've done the right thing. The scams get happening, not premeditated, literally looks like the guy who a week later after consuming the thing goes, I kind of need $5 back. Very silly. So yeah, rest assured it doesn't happen as often as social media makes it seem. Oh, Janelle, if you're gonna, for everybody who doesn't know Janelle is part of the eBay seller panel. Do not bring your grievances to her the way somebody brings grievances to King in court, unless you bring her gifts, in which case she may grant you court. Otherwise, she's one of the seller panel, so all you're allowed to do is thank her and not bother her. But to be honest, though, there's a seller panel that directly communicates with eBay, things that need to be fixed, things that could improve, things that, any weird cases, I don't know. But the point being is they work really hard and they want to improve the platform. So eBay's stance that they want to be a platform for sellers by sellers. The buy sellers input very much is this eBay seller panel. So thank you, Janelle. Something, Janelle, that I've been really wanting to ask you actually is that the feedback reply function doesn't appear on the app anymore. So if somebody scrolls through negative feedback and someone has responded to it, it doesn't. The replies don't show up on the app. It shows on the desktop, but not the app. So can we ask eBay to actually put that back? Because what's the point of replying to feedback if buyers can't see that feedback? And I understand being a buyer-centric site, that should be something that's included. Like, I don't care that it's not a seller-friendly app for sellers to sell on or do comms on. I know people have been asking for a seller thing for years, but that's like a very buyer-friendly function. You know, neutral feedback, negative feedback, just the fact that the seller gets to respond in a professional manner. Like even things like, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I hope we've resolved it, da 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 da. Sometimes eBay doesn't remove it, but just the fact that there's a reply, I feel gives confidence to buyers to know that there's a proactive seller on the other end should mistakes happen. So yeah, would be nice if eBay can give us back the visibility of the replies on feedback on the actual app. Oh, Jason, you're keeping me from listening, my man. If you weren't a reseller, what would you be doing for income? Dancing. No. I've done banking, I've done hospitality. If I had my way and if times were good, I would probably do hospitality. I very much enjoyed working at restaurants. The highlight for me was work. Every restaurant, this happens. You go, for those of you guys who do hospitality, you'll agree with this. You get given front of house because that's the least screw upable job. All you do is coffees and cake usually, and then eventually somebody can do the tables inside. You're given some middle tables, and eventually you get the window seats where there's a view of whatever, right? I love that process of proving yourself, and I like that at a restaurant, there's a very direct correlation between good service and the amount that a table spends. So even if the manager has a thing for that pretty girl that handles the tables, but she sucks, she doesn't have an advantage over a newbie who actually provides very good, timely, pays attention to the table, cares, makes the kids feel comfortable, respects the elders. All those things lead to dollars, and no manager says no to dollars eventually over favoritism. So I love that environment because I found in corporate, banking, finance, wherever, right? Like all that bullshit that doesn't make money somehow can rank higher depending on the person you deal with. And I hated that. It felt unfair, which it is. It felt like you either conform to the whatever. You felt like you were a different person depending on the context, and they call it adaptability. It's not. It's BS and it's pointless. And I hated the kind of person I was in that environment. So similar to how when I did a video on going to the flea market where I essentially swooped in and got a deal at the expense of a kid and their dad. So it's like, because we're fighting for toys, right? Like everybody has the ability to be that person. And I think environments that don't bring that out of me, hospitality. So when I was working in restaurants, cafes, pizza shop even, I would essentially channel my inner Lumiere. So be our guest. And had a lot of fun. So if I wasn't a reseller, I'd probably go back to hospitality. But alas, mortgage repayments have gone up, and hospitality it's so sad. It's so sad that hospitality doesn't pay more, because especially when after being a reseller and you really understand why buyers buy, you also will understand why diners dine. And that perspective, that appreciation for why someone is willing to spend money, spend their time with you, choose to spend their night where you are, choose to not go to another place after their meal because they feel so at home, dessert feels like a no-brainer. Like understanding that and is the difference between somebody who comes to your desk, comes to your table, or like clockwork. You know these waiters. They go, "Hi, how's everything tonight? Can I get you any more water?" It's like, no, there's nothing about my behavior that indicates any of those things, but you just come and interrupted the conversation. You're not actually present here with me. Versus what I used to do, where the meal was done, they would be wondering. There's a sense of like you sense there's a wondering what we're gonna do next, because if people need to go somewhere, they go. They're sitting there, they're kind of figuring it out, between themselves, looking around. If anyone's giving a signal, I say, "Hey guys, we've got dessert. The cakes are at the front. Stay where you are. Just let me know. You guys like chocolate? Do you like strawberry? Those are the flavors of the day. We've also got some, and I'll lay out the item specifics of the dessert, not the actual dessert, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I feel like strawberry. Oh yeah, I feel like vanilla. Look, don't buy one each. The slices are really big. I'll just grab you guys to share, say one between the three of you. Does that sound good? Yep, good." And the cakes would arrive, right? They've said yes to the item specifics, not the actual items themselves. They don't know if it's a cheesecake coming. They don't know if it's, but by that point, I've already known the dietary things. They've already mentioned whether the dairy, whatever, gluten. And when the dessert arrives, right? If it goes with ice cream's on the cake. I haven't asked them if they want ice cream or not. They're already going to pay something like $40, $50 per head for that meal. The dessert isn't going to break the bank. Once it arrives, they go, "Huh, this person knows me. This person has been listening to me." Big difference from, "Hi, can I get you another glass of water? Hi, can I top up your wine?" Like, no, piss off. You're interrupting me. So that to me, I feel is a skill set that we get even better with reselling that from hospitality. So I honestly feel hospitality should be paid more. But yeah, it's the reality of the industry, right? If I open a restaurant, I probably would struggle too, because that's just, it's a shame. I really wish we lived in a country where hospitality was paid more and people paid more for experiences and good. I don't know where I'm going. You guys know where I'm going with this, but yeah, hospitality. Night, Pia. Thanks for joining us and for consistently joining us. What else? I still remember, Janelle, remember that guy? Remember that guy at the Oyers that was like, "Oh, I only track everything everything larger than $80," and we all kind of went, "Are you serious, dude? Like, are you not?" And most of us looked at each other like, anything more than $10-20 we already said track. But he was like, "Nope, I refuse to make it tracking unless it's $80," and he was insisting on, but he was like complaining that it wasn't insured and eBay should insure it, because that was interesting. It's not the feedback, it's the replies. So I checked my phone. Give me a sec. So looking at, like, I think I've got 4,000 in one of them, 4,000 in one of them, and like about 500 in another, and about 400 in another, 800 in another. It's like the three biggest stores are like 4,000, 500, and 800. And it's more like when they have neutral feedback, I don't like getting it removed, because to me, a perfect store is not a trustworthy store. And sometimes, unless it's like blatantly scathing, if it's just postage was slow. One of them, like here's one, right? I had a regular buyer in Mexico who literally buy one item for $10 and pay $29 shipping almost every other week. And then the feedback literally read, "Item, I still don't know I still haven't gotten my item. I've gotten every other item up until now. I love buying from your store, but Mexico Post has just stuffed it up this time." And it was a neutral feedback. And then literally my reply was like, "I appreciate your repeat business and I thank you for buying another item today. Mexico Post seems to have a period of, we've had," essentially saying like, we've had this happen with other Mexico buyers as well, indicating a seasonal probably glitch in the way they're doing something there locally. And that reply just it's a closure kind of statement to that thing, and that neutral feedback can stay there. It doesn't hurt me metric wise, it doesn't hurt me business wise, but it just provides the buyer, if anything, an insight into how I deal with feedback. But without that reply, it just looks like there's a whingy buyer and nothing's been done, and I didn't like that. So I really want the replies to the feedback, if we bother to leave them, to be visible in the mobile format. Yeah. So I know you can only reply to it on the desktop, but then I just want the replies to be visible if we do it on the mobile. And the fact that it's not is kind of like, why? Yeah. Sorry, Sandra. I was I wasn't planning on doing a live, and then the kids went to bed, and then I started listening. I went, yeah, let's just turn the camera on. So the essentially Tuesday nights live where we drink and talk about a topic. That one's going to be every week. Thursday night 10 p.m. That's going to be an every week thing as well, because that one I can definitely commit to those two, and the rest is going to be random. So if I happen to be on, hop on. If any, it generally will be like 10 o'clock onwards, because that's generally like clear runway for me. Jenny goes to bed pretty early, especially when she has to work the next day. By 10 she's in bed, and the kids generally from like 9 they're also gone. So yeah. All right, more listing. I'm gonna get a drink of water. Be right back. Jody. Why do you need to set up a YouTube for your store? Nah, that dancing was a joke. Just start it, just record. That's what Chris told me to do when I was told to do a YouTube channel, that it would be a good idea. That's what Chris Furlong said. Just do it. Don't wait. Just record. You're gonna look silly anyways when you start, regardless of how well you think you prepare. You are going to make a fool of yourself the first few videos, and that's okay. It's going to be awkward, and you're going to look weird, and that is perfectly normal. Everybody goes through that same process. All right. I'm off to bed. Well done, everyone. I think I did 50. Well, it says 41 here, but I think I did a few more after that. Almost 50. I see you guys tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I'm going to get my rest. Whew. It was meant to be a 2-hour session, ended up being almost 3. Peace. See you guys tomorrow night. Bye.